Wearing an ancient master-disciple's sadistic love story, Qiao Sui is a former fiancé who loves her beyond measure. If all the bad things are done, everyone will shout and be executed. Qiao Sui knelt down on the male companion who had just died in battle, forcing his eyes to turn red. "Husband, please don't leave me," he said day by day. In order to survive, her stories became more and more vivid. The childhood friendship with the male supporting character has finally turned into romance. Xia Yun, the highly respected god of war in his past life, opened his eyes and found that he had regenerated. A beautiful waist that was 7 or 8% similar to himself. There is also something even more frustrating. In order to comfort Qiao Sui, who had lost his husband, he was packaged as a gift and sent to his door. As Xia Yun looked at his increasingly haggard madam, due to missing him, gradually, even he vaguely felt that he had had an affair with her back then. Keywords of the novel. I thought I had a master apprentice sadomasochistic script without a pop-up window. I thought I had downloaded the complete text of the master apprentice sadomasochistic script, and I thought I had read the latest chapters of the master apprentice sadomasochistic script. Chapter 1. Wearing Books. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 1. Wearing books. You are about to counterattack the main female lead. The whole world is under your feet. You will be even more beautiful, even more miserable. Hey! You caught the wrong person. When Qiao Sui opened his eyes, he found himself stepping on the clouds, feeling a bit confused. Not far ahead, a group of people in Yanjiang were arguing for something. The noisy voices carried the howling mountain wind, constantly stimulating her dizzying brain nerves. Where is this? What is the situation? She clearly remembers surfing in the sea the moment before, when a big wave swept in without enough time to think about it. He suddenly met a gaze full of hatred. It was dark and gloomy, and his voice was full of questioning. Why don't you die? With a hint of confusion, Qiao Sui pointed to himself and said, "Me. If it weren't for saving you, this poisonous woman, Xie Huan, wouldn't have died at all." The vicious voice continued, tears rolling down with hatred. How unfair is the way of heaven. Good people don't live long, and disasters will last for thousands of years. In an instant, the people around turned their heads in unison. They were all in wide-sleeved robes, light and graceful, wearing white clothes to deceive frost and compete with snow. Their appearance was also extremely outstanding, eye-catching, and they knew at a glance that they were disciples of the immortal sect with an immortal aura. However, many people looked at her with obvious unkindness. This dream is quite interesting. Obviously, she is now a villainous character. Exciting. With a touch. Qiao Sui lifted his chin and said innocently, "I didn't let him save me. You." The other person successfully choked, his face turning red and his fingers trembling with anger. I don't know what kind of plot was added to my mind, but soon it turned pale again. Suddenly, I realized, it was you who caused the ghost. Xia Yun has strong strength and is the first god of war in the immortal world. You were the only one standing next to him at that time. How could you have fallen here if you hadn't encountered an ambush? The scene fell into a dead silence. If everyone's gaze was substantial, it weighed heavily on Qiao Sui, who almost couldn't breathe. She restrained her instinct to retreat, and soon a long sword wrapped in the formation pattern fell in front of her. So you killed Xia Yun. Qiao Sui turned his head and looked over. The person wielding the sword was a young man with an obviously extraordinary configuration. This handsome man had a jade-like face and a hint of coldness between his eyebrows. The white robe shines brightly, not stained with fine dust. Touching her gaze, the other person furrowed their brows and expressed disgust. Qiao Sui pressed his tongue against his cheek and said sincerely, "I don't." "Do you dare to swear in front of Xia Yun?" Before she could answer, a white shadow flickered in front of her, and the other person immediately pulled her away. As she stumbled and stood still, in front of her line of sight, there was an extremely handsome man half kneeling, so majestic that one could not dare to stare. He lowered his head slightly, his eyes tightly closed, and his face was very peaceful. The golden armor is covered with cracks of all sizes, and the large hole in the chest is deep enough to reveal bones, which is shocking. Holding a black long sword in both hands, with a straight and unyielding spine like a green pine, the firm and proud spirit lingers in the world. Buzz. Suddenly, Qiao Sui's mind went dizzy, and a series of messages rushed in. In the fragmented memory, it was she who personally pushed the god-like man in front of her onto the tip of the sword. This is so damn embarrassing. Qiao Sui's face was expressionless, but his heart was turbulent, trying to organize the memories in his mind and search for more clues. Just recalling. Suddenly taken aback. She tilted her head and stared at the iceberg face for a while before hesitating and calling out, "Are you not coming back?" The other party sneered twice and raised their hand to push her forward 2 steps. "Qiao Sui, don't procrastinate with me. Xiaoyu and you have no grievances or grudges. If you really harm him, I will definitely clean up the door with my own hands." Xiaoyu has high expectations and is strict with himself in times of chaos. He is a model for famous scholars in the immortal sect, just like the Dinghai divine needle in the cultivation world. But now that the sea god needle has broken, the demon clan can make a comeback at any time, and the people who persecute him are simply not enough to pay for their crimes with countless cuts. Qiao Sui bit the tip of his tongue and it hurt. So, this is not a dream of emptiness. But rather, it has traveled through Song of Mountains and Seas, is the world's best-selling serialized manga, claimed to be set as the main female lead, with many sweet cakes, but in fact, it is still a super strong Mary Sullivan who loves me all over the world. Everyone thought that Hua Xiaoxiao was a waste material in cultivation, until her incredible armor was worn out one by one. She was a genius alchemist, a disciple passed down by an ancient master, and could easily find rare treasures while walking on the road. She could easily subdue an ancient divine beast, and everyone was a big shot. Later, one day, someone saw the youngest leader of the Jiulan Sanyue sect hold her in his arms and kiss her. Remembering once again the fear of being dominated by copywriting, Qiao Sui trembled with goosebumps all over her body. However, the group portraits in the book Song of Mountains and Seas are vividly portrayed, with flesh and blood. Especially the blackened fiancée A.E. Qiao Sui in the manga, with her super strong personality and explosive appearance, has a high popularity no less than the protagonists. Unfortunately, she is a stumbling block on the path of love between the male and female protagonists, constantly killing female villains. Unfortunately, she is now dressed as Qiao Sui. What's even more unfortunate is that the timing of entering this otherworldly continent happened to be the grand finale of the story. Immediately, everyone will expose her conspiracies and schemes, and she will be stripped of her sword bones, dug out of her inner alchemy, and her cultivation will be ruined. For the rest of her life, she will endure the agony of whipping in a prison called the Nine Heavens Cold Domain. Until death, the manga did not explain why the original body wanted to kill Xiaoyu, so it was hastily concluded. Qiao Sui's brain is running wildly, desperately searching for ways to avoid cannon fodder outcomes. She doesn't want to die, let alone go through torture. Those who achieve great things can bend and stretch, isn't there a win-win solution? Hold on, don't panic. Firstly, we need to quickly stabilize the situation, delay time, and change our destiny. Qiao Sui quickly glanced around. Here, there are countless strong Yuanying everywhere, but their original form is just a flashy but unreal golden pill, weaker than any other group. Not to mention fighting hard resistance is always seeking death every minute. Are you afraid? Seeing her motionless for a long time, Jun Bugue sneered. Qiao Sui licked his lips and sincerely said, "I swear with my life that I have never harmed Xiaoyu, otherwise there will be 5 thunderbolts." Anyway, the Qiao Sui who has caused harm to people is gone. The vows of cultivators are bound by the heavenly way, and for a long time, no abnormality has ever appeared between heaven and earth. Impossible. Jun Bugue was extremely shocked, his sword eyebrows twisted tightly. Not only him, but everyone present had a momentary waver. Could it be that they really wronged Qiao Sui? Although Qiao Sui has committed many evil deeds, she seems to have no reason to kill the god of war. She is bad, but not stupid. The god of war has reached the Mahayana period, and their strength is vastly different. Even if Qiao Sui wants to do something, it is still a mayfly that shakes the big tree and exceeds his ability. Ah, the god of war is just too kind and soft-hearted. He would have died to save such a woman, it's not worth it. Listening to the whispers around him, Qiao Sui breathed a sigh of relief, and a glimmer of hope gradually shone in his eyes. I have evidence. A thunderbolt suddenly exploded in the crowd. Qiao Sui's eyelids twitched as she looked up and a beautiful young girl emerged from the crowd. Soft and delicate, shining like the morning sun. The person who came is the protagonist of Song of Mountains and Seas, Hua Xiao Xiao. Open a new article, if you like it, save it. End of this chapter. Chapter 2. Husband. Husband. You are listening at novelfull.audio. The source has no content or has errors. Chapter 3. Cousin, you are ill again. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 3. Cousin, you are ill again at the same time. The Zhao family, thousands of miles away, is also full of flying chickens and dogs. Cousin. Cousin, have you fallen ill again? The frail and beautiful man leaned against the bedside, his peach blossom eyes full of helplessness. He gritted his teeth and insisted, I am really Xie Yun. The cousin beside him was obviously more tired than him. Cousin, wake up. Although you look similar, the god of war is not something that our little Zhao family can casually touch. Xie Yun held his forehead with one hand and remained silent for a long time. In an instant, he took a deep breath and suddenly flipped over to sit up, cross-legged and meditating. The slender and translucent fingers skillfully kneaded the formula in the air, smashing down one complex and cumbersome formation after another. My cousin was stunned and stuttered, what are you doing? Help. My cousin is going crazy again. Healing the wound. Xie Yun's gaze condensed into a line, looking coldly ahead. The once beautiful face seemed to be covered with a layer of frost, and the tone was strong and powerful. The second wave of magic is coming, and I must restore my strength to its peak as soon as possible. In an instant, there was a violent uprising around the spiritual accumulation, and the golden radiance of the formation was flourishing. The spiritual energy forms a vortex and rushes towards Xie Yunfeng. The man standing in the formation with wide sleeves curled up in the wind, towering like a mountain in a sea, shaking people's hearts. The next moment, the cousin, who looked up to like a disconnected kite, plummeted straight towards the ground with a loud bang and a big bump on his forehead. The people of Zhao Mansion broke through the door at the right time. The atmosphere solidifies. Indoor is as quiet as death. My cousin quickly stepped up and helped Xie Yun lie back in bed. After checking, he was shocked and said, my cousin has ruined all the remaining cultivation. Xie Yun. Zhao Mansion crowd. They were surprised, relieved, and breathed a sigh of relief. It's simply unacceptable. Everyone looked pitifully at the sickly and beautiful young man in front of them, as if he had suffered a major blow. His eyelashes trembled incessantly, and his beautiful face, like a delicate flower, had an inexplicable sense of beauty. Am I Zhao Hengji? Xie Yun accepted an inexplicable memory in his mind, frowning and looking quite disgusted. Turns out he was really killed by Qiao Sui. Just who can tell him why he would regenerate a beautiful scrap material that looks 7 or 8 points similar to him. Throughout the first 18 years of life of this young man named Zhao Hengji, he was truly flashy, unable to support a wall with mud, and lacking a string in his mind. Cousin, suddenly, there was a deafening roar, which scared Xia Yun back to his senses. I saw his cheap cousin with tearful eyes and exclaimed, "You've finally recovered from your illness." Xia Yun. Just when Xia Yun couldn't accept his new identity, Qiao Sui slept until noon. When I woke up, I suddenly saw a huge tiger head resting on the edge of the cloud bed, my heart almost pounding. I instinctively kicked it out and sat up straight. The little tiger rolled on the ground a few times, humming and groaning. Qiao Sui froze, and the lingering pain in her mind instantly reminded her of everything that had happened before she fell into a coma. She forcefully pinched her palm, trying to calm herself down. Her gaze swept over the thin, cicada-like shaky cloud tent and landed on the long table under the screen not far away, with a green sword all over it. By the sword, the three-legged golden beast incense burner was emitting light smoke, filling the room with a refreshing fragrance. Fortunately, it's not the nine heavens cold region. She felt relieved and delighted, and suddenly the familiar tiger head burst into her eyes. The tiger's eyes twirled, unsure of what they were up to. "Hua Xiaoxiao sent you to monitor me." Qiao Sui rudely masturbated her tiger head, as soft as she had imagined. She squinted her eyes. Di Ting knew that she was not the original Qiao Sui, but did not inform Hua Xiaoxiao. Otherwise, relying solely on the title of losing can easily crush oneself. Qiao Sui doesn't believe that Di Ting will betray his master, which only indicates that it is limited by some reason and cannot be said. So sneaking in, searching for evidence of her flaws. With this in mind, a wicked smile appeared on Qiao Sui's lips. "Hua Xiaoxiao asked you to secretly kill me. What a wicked heart. Angering a monster is an easy task." The little tiger lifted its paw and swung it over. Qiao Sui leaned back in vain and spoke in a frightened tone, "Help." The tiger's body trembled. The tiger's face was bewildered. Tiger claws stiffened in mid-air. This woman's face-changing speed is too fast. "Hey!" Upon hearing the cry for help, the disciples of the sweeping outside the door burst in and saw Hua Xiaoxiao's notorious pet beast with fierce hair, half of its body collapsing on the bed, and its sharp claws shining with a cold light, intending to assassinate the widow of the god of war. Someone quickly crushed the jade slip and said, "No problem, senior sister Hua is going to kill Uncle Qiao." The news spread like wildfire, causing shock throughout the sect. After a moment, Hua Xiaoxiao and Jun Bugui walked in together, arriving late. "Qiao Sui, what are you causing trouble again?" As soon as I entered the door, Jun Bugui opened his mouth and asked a question. Qiao Sui's gaze paused for a moment on the hand they held, and then glanced at Jun Bugui's face. The corners of his eyes and eyebrows were tinged with a hint of laziness behind his nightmares, making him unable to help but satirize. "I didn't expect the two of them to get back together so quickly just yesterday." Sure enough, the most convenient and efficient way for the male and female protagonists to resolve conflicts in Marisu's romance is undoubtedly through the bed. She lowered her eyes and calmly stated, "The leader needs to ask Uncle Hua for this sentence." Hua smiled and frowned slightly, looking around the entire room before finally finding the culprit struggling to shrink into a ball under the table. The little tiger let out a growl, bared its teeth, and showed a pleasing smile. Qiao Sui seemed to be frightened by that sound, and her eyes instantly turned red. She jumped out of bed like a madman, grabbed the emerald green sword, and stumbled towards the door, choking up as she said, "Husband, it's better to die in battle like you than to be fooled to death by someone else. Wait for me a little longer on the road to the underworld, and little Qiao Guo will come up to accompany you." Xiao Qiao Guo. Jun Bugui's mind wandered for a moment before instinctively grabbing her arm. He couldn't remember how many years he hadn't heard of the term Xiao Qiao Guo, as if going back to his childhood sweetheart. The little junior sister, who looks like a glutinous rice ball, always likes to run behind Xia Yun until she falls, and the cold-hearted senior brother turns around. As he disdainfully bandaged the wound, his hands moved cautiously and said, "Xiao Qiaoguo, why are you so stupid?" Xiao Qiaoguo smiled heartlessly and said, "Because I know my senior brother will always protect me." At that time, he could only watch from a distance. And envy. Jun Bugui curled up his fingers very slowly. Yes, when he was young, Jun Bugui was jealous that his senior brother could gain the wholehearted intimacy and trust of his junior sister alone. Shut up. Xiao Qiaoguo is also something you can call. Qiao Sui turned back with tears in her eyes, and the residual red at the end of her eyes shook her heart. She murmured with a smile, "That is clearly a memory that belongs only to me and my husband." Xie Yun. Am I portraying myself? What the hell? End of this chapter. Chapter 4. Contract. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 4 Contract. Jun Bugui moved his lips, hesitating to speak, his eyes flickering with a hint of desolation. Qiao Sui secretly breathed a sigh of relief. It seems that this wave of memories is right. Everyone looked at each other, frowning and making eyes. In an instant, a beautiful love story of childhood sweetheart and childhood sweetheart came to mind. Xiao Qiaoguo. Listen to this title, TSK. It's hard to imagine how tender and affectionate that man, as majestic as a god, would be when he uttered these 3 words. If it weren't for Master dying. It seemed like suddenly realizing that he had made a mistake. Qiao Sui clenched his lower lip and stopped speaking. Junior sister, Jun Bugui suddenly widened his eyes and urgently asked, "What is the secret about our engagement?" As the words fell, the arm under the palm of the hand instantly became incredibly stiff. He felt his mouth dry and his tongue dry for a moment, as if he was about to push aside the clouds and touch the truth, his heart beating so violently that it almost jumped out of his chest. Unexpectedly, the helpless little tiger could no longer bear it and roared as it plunged forward. Ah! This playwright woman is acting to deceive people again, and she's so angry that she's a beast. Qiao Sui's eyes quickly flashed a glimmer of success, and in front of everyone, he confirmed that Hua Xiaoxiao was trying to harm him. If you don't mind face-saving and rumors, you will definitely strengthen your guard. And once there is an accident, Hua Xiaoxiao will inevitably be unable to escape the involvement and cannot act rashly for the time being. Everything is under one's own control, making it a win-win situation. Fengluan. Hua smiled and scolded, lifting her fingers slightly in her wide sleeves and pressing them back again. She looked both surprised and angry, but her heart was filled with a murderous intent. Qiao Sui, you must die. The two are enemies who never cease to die. Whether true or false, she must not be allowed to fulfill her role as the widow of the god of war. Cutting the grass without removing the roots will inevitably lead to great calamity in the future. Danger is within reach. Qiao Sui's face turned pale, and a slight tremble appeared in his heart, but his figure remained upright. She is gambling that if you don't return, she will definitely take action. The fearless and proud demeanor, towering like a pine, suddenly overlapped with Xie Yun in a daze. Your heart trembles greatly when you do not return. As the huge tiger's mouth, like a basin, was about to bite off Qiao Sui's head, it suddenly froze in mid-air. I saw Jun Bugui grabbing with his bare hands, gripping his listening hind leg and gently pulling it backwards, causing his entire body to plummet. The frightened monster flapped wildly, its sharp claws piercing into Qiao Sui's chest, and in an instant, blood spurted out, splashing into the beast's mouth. The little tiger is shrouded in a circle. The little tiger widened its eyes in disbelief. The little tiger slammed heavily onto the ground, leaving it dizzy and disoriented, with only 3 terrifying characters left in its brain. It's done. An ancient golden magic formation suddenly appeared at the feet of one person and one beast, converging into 2 golden spells that flowed straight into their eyebrows. Master-servant contract, formed. The accident happened without warning, and everyone was stunned and unable to speak a word. The scene was so quiet that almost a needle could be heard. In Qiao Sui's chaotic mind, an untimely passage from Songs of Mountains and Seas came to mind. Hua Xiaoxiao believes in the equality of all beings and never makes contracts with divine beasts. After hearing this, the young demon beasts were moved to tears and became more loyal to her. I never expected that the female lead's fresh and unaffected behavior would make her take a big advantage. I don't know how Hua Xiaoxiao feels at this moment. Quickly, she had no time to take care of it. The tearing pain in her chest made her moan uncontrollably, and her body collapsed backwards. She didn't forget to play and said, "Husband, Xiao Qiaogua has come to accompany you." "Mom, it hurts so much. It's killing her." Tears streamed even brighter as she gasped intermittently, "Husband. Husband. You're here to pick me up. Right. What are these people still standing there foolishly for? Help. If it bleeds again, it will be gone." Qiao Sui's pale and colorless lips sparkled with a happy smile as if she had fulfilled her wish. Her almond eyes were blurred, and everyone seemed to be in a state of reflection and hallucination. Junior sister. Not good, Uncle Qiao has sacrificed himself for the god of war. The room was instantly chaotic, with chickens flying and dogs jumping around. Only Hua Xiaoxiao remained sober in the world alone, with her wide sleeves and nails deeply embedded in her palm, full of questions. How did this woman's IQ suddenly increase? It's like a different person suddenly, her mind caught something. Her spiritual platform was clear, and she habitually looked at the one with a questioning gaze with just one glance. Hua Xiaoxiao was about to vomit blood. Her loyal little tiger was lying at Qiao Sui's feet, its furry big tail hooked around her calf, in a protective posture. Noticing her gaze, the little tiger lifted its head and swiftly brushed a hint of guilt in its eyes. However, its tail wrapped around Qiao Sui even tighter, lifting it slightly and ready to launch an attack at any moment. Hua smiled and said, "The little tiger is suffocating. The little tiger was wronged. The little tiger is also helpless. It has a master-servant contract with Qiao Sui, which is the lowest level. Master life, it is born. The master dies, it dies. It dies, the master lives." The little cub's little head couldn't think about the complex issues of life and death and loyalty, and the little tiger made a selfless choice, going through fire and water, and generously sacrificing its life. And its heart was also chaotic, because after signing the contract, it suddenly discovered a shocking secret about the new owner, and was so shocked that it couldn't say a word. If it weren't for the white fluffy fur on his face, his complexion would be as white as snow without any color. Its new owner is actually Boom. A sudden thunderous sound outside the window startled everyone. Thunder on a sunny day. It's really strange. Someone muttered. The thunder came and went quickly, and everyone didn't take it to heart. Therefore, no one noticed that the cute and foolish little tiger lifted its paws and hugged its head, trembling and trembling. The heavenly way is warning it. Realizing this, little tiger completely gave up his resistance to the contract in his heart. Hua Xiaoxiao keenly sensed her former comrades who had fought side by side, and lowered her head in a gentle posture. She couldn't help but clench her fist, feeling disappointed and even resentful. And on the other side, Jun Bugue gave Qiao Sui the 6th grade blood returning pill, which instantly stopped the visible blood in his chest. The rich spiritual energy spread to all limbs and bones, and in just a moment, the stunning face slowly regained its color. Junior sister, you are so cultured. In 5 days, you will be the 7th senior brother. Perhaps he has not yet entered reincarnation, and you can see each other for the last time. Jun Bugue comforted in a hoarse voice. My grass, ah ah ah. Qiao Sui widened his eyes in disbelief and suddenly sat up, pulling his wounds that had not yet healed. He couldn't help but cry in pain and said, Can I really see him again? Jun Bugue's eyes were filled with pity. After thinking for a moment, he decided to reveal some secrets. Due to the presence of his disciples, he secretly whispered, "Senior brother's soul card is not broken, perhaps there is still a glimmer of vitality. 5 days later, I want to activate the soul summoning technique to bring his soul back." Qiao Sui. She couldn't help but weakly clench her fist and nervously ask, "Really?" Jun Bugue nodded. "It's really." Qiao Sui's heart was as dead as ashes, tearfully sighing, "That's great. What a fart. How could Xia Yun not have died? This time the pill." Jun Bugue saw her regain hope, and the heavy stone in her heart was lowered halfway. She continued to advise, "I know you are sad, but you must take good care of yourself. Otherwise, when we reunite one day and see you looking so haggard, senior brother will surely feel heartbroken." Qiao Sui nodded while shedding tears. She thought to herself, Xia Yunxin doesn't feel heartbroken. She doesn't know, but if she struck her heart on the spot, there must be something. How about it? Hurry up and pack your bags and run away, right? Jun Bugue instructed his disciples to take good care of him and leave with Hua Xiaoxiao. The house has been restored to quietness. The disciples were moved to tears when they saw Qiao Sui's expression of heartbreak and tears of joy. Uncle Qiao and the god of war really have a deep emotional connection. At first, when he heard the news that the first 7 could still meet, he was so surprised that he couldn't say a word. They exchanged glances and withdrew tacitly. Just as they left, they excitedly ran in all directions. First-hand gossip, you must quickly inform your family and friends. Qiao Sui. Even if you sing your own play, you still want to continue acting with tears in your eyes. Little tiger. Even if you lift a stone yourself, it will tear you down and hit your feet. A certain author. Kneeling down to beg little cuties to collect, 5. Star praise, end of this chapter. Chapter 5. Mysterious Black Pearl. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 5 Mysterious Black Pearl. So in less than half an hour, the entire sect once again spread the touching love story of, the little wife of the god of war. It even quickly spread to the town at the foot of the mountain, and then to further places from the town. For example, Qinghe Zhao Mansion. Bang dang, a bowl of black medicine smashed onto the ground. Upon hearing this, everyone in the Zhao family looked around and saw their delicate and delicate cousin's face turn red, with round eyes and a lightning-struck expression. They gritted their teeth and said, "She dares. She dares. To arrange me like this and ruin my reputation." My cousin straightened his ears and had a look on his face that read, "I knew you would still get sick. Call the doctor quickly." As his gaze touched the dark and astringent juice on the ground, the bitter taste made his stomach churn countless times. Xia Yun immediately said rationally and respectfully, "Cousin, I'm sober now." Cousin Zhao Changkong frowned suspiciously. Xia Yun stood up and confidently reached out for money, saying, "A new rouge and powder shop has opened on West Street. I want to go and take a look." After saying these words, he fiercely despised the original owner in his heart. A dignified man, all he thinks about all day is not to eliminate demons and defend the way, to uphold justice, but to like a woman who likes to apply makeup and powder. The next moment, he suddenly remembered that this naughty boy was now himself. Almost collapsed. Zhao Changkong's expression was indeed that of my cousin. He quickly took out a few silver bills and his eyes were filled with satisfaction, saying, "Buy, don't come back until you buy out the new season." Xia Yun had become numb and looked at the pleased expressions of the Zhao family members, walking hand in hand and foot towards the door. Qinghe is just an ordinary small town. To purchase high-quality cultivation materials and return to the main road, one must go to a larger trading mall. The nearest Bailing city is 100 miles away, and for the god of war who has entered the Mahayana period, it can be reached with just one breath. Xia Yun effortlessly rented a carriage with money. The carriage was extremely fast, leaving Qinghe town behind in an instant. The young master, dressed in luxurious attire, clenched his fist and swore to the heavens with great courage. When he returned to the sect, he would definitely give back the wealth of the Zhao family, enjoying endless cultivation resources. Kok Deng, the carriage passed by the big pit, and if it weren't for Xia Yun's quick eyesight, he almost bumped into the carriage. This is just the beginning. The following mountain road is bumpy. The petite and frail young man vomited doubts about life all the way, finally arriving at Bailing City, but was locked outside the city due to curfew. He turned around again, and the carriage had already run into the thick ink. Xia Yun. He took a deep breath, braved the piercing cold wind, walked to the corner of the wall, sat down, straightened his spine, and poured chicken soup into himself time and time again. Heaven will bestow great responsibilities on this person. We must first work hard on their hearts and minds, strain their muscles and bones, and starve their bodies. Ache. Gradually, my loose spine bent in the cold wind. I don't know how long it has been. In a daze, a big coat fell onto him, and he looked up in amazement, only to see Zhao Chankong's heartbroken expression that was not worth it. Watch, cousin. It's okay, I'll help you. Xia Yun was confused and had an ominous premonition. Cousin, what are you talking about? Zhao Chankong rubbed his head and said in a loving father's tone, I will make you Xia Yun. The doctor said that for someone like my cousin who is critically ill, we can only accommodate his fantasies and slowly treat them. It's still possible to spend a little money and have the whole city accompany him to play every house. From now on, you will be Xia Yun. Zhao Chankong patted his shoulder. Xia Yun. Not good, cheap cousin is also crazy. Qiao Sui thought that after so many things happened during the day, he would suffer from insomnia, but soon fell into a deep sleep. She dreamed of a black bead. A black bead bound by countless black thin chains, tightly fitted like a dense web, almost breathless. Qiao Sui closed his eyes uncomfortably, then opened them again, surprised to find two small holes in the center of the black net, revealing a golden glow below. I don't know why, but she reached out and touched it by some strange means. The golden light is warm, converging in all directions along the palm muscles and veins. In an instant, the shackles lingering around me were once again light and carefree, indescribable. She let out a few comfortable murmurs and quickly opened her eyes. I saw the little tiger with the new contract squatting at the head of the bed, holding a green long sword in its mouth, excitedly bulging its tiger eyes, causing panic in the dark night. It seemed like she was waking up, and the little one was swaying his furry tail back and forth. Qiao Sui was taken aback, feeling drowsy and scared. Before the monster takes shape, it cannot communicate with humans normally. Only by contracting with humans can one express some of their wishes clearly to their master. For example, this little tiger desperately thrusts a sword into her palm. Do you want me to practice swordsmanship now? Qiao Sui turned his head and glanced out the window, black and pitch black, obviously still in the middle of the night. She touches the tiger's head, it's okay if it's not hot. The furry tiger head took the opportunity to rub against the palm of the new owner's hand and let out a whimper. Do you mean, let me maintain my original master's plan and save my life first? Qiao Sui's face was strange, and he sighed in his heart. The original master's hard work in cultivation couldn't catch up with Hua Xiaoxiao, which shows how poor his talent is. The little tiger nodded, cute and adorable. It doesn't want to die. So this bad woman cannot die. With such a weak chicken and an ordinary owner, practicing swordsmanship more may make up for one's shortcomings with diligence. Right. Those round tiger eyes were full of uncertainty and doubt. But there is an intuition in the dark that tells it that this new owner will definitely be very powerful in the future. The little tiger raised its chest and proudly said, no one in this world knows the true identity of a bad woman except for this powerful beast. Oh. Qiao Sui tilted his head and asked with a smile, "What is my true identity?" Of course, boom. In vain, a thundercloud as big as a palm drifted into the room, chopping the little tiger straight in the face. Its hair exploded all over its body, and it was pitch black, as if drilling into a pile of coal. After the thundercloud split, it disappeared without a trace in the blink of an eye. Qiao Sui was greatly surprised. She touched her chin. According to the law of romance novels, this situation is very much like touching some taboo rule. Is it what is she really, the new generation of female protagonists in the counterattack of the female protagonist? The little tiger lay lazily on the ground, looking very pitiful and disheartened. But its restorative power is extremely strong, and it takes no time to fully recover. She lifted her paws and rested them on the head of the bed, sticking out her pink and tender little tongue to lick the back of her hand, urging her to practice quickly. Qiao Sui. No. The refusal reached her lips, as if thinking of something. She licked her lips and said, "Before we leave, let's go somewhere." The little tiger suddenly had a bad premonition. Half an hour later. Standing at the kitchen door, the little tiger was caught in the dilemma of tiger survival. Why spend so much effort, crossing two peaks and running from the main peak with rich spiritual energy to the kitchen dedicated to miscellaneous disciples? You should know that after building the foundation, cultivators no longer need to eat grains and miscellaneous grains. Until, the new owner picked up a big black pot from the farm and ran away. Help. The new owner is crazy. Qiao Sui, touching his chin. I think I have a great hidden identity. Guess what it is? End of this chapter. Chapter 6. Cheap husband has not died. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 6. Cheap husband has not died. The smoke from the kitchen is curling up, and the white soup is rolling. Hiccup, the little tiger spread out its limbs on the grass, its belly eating round and plump. Even if it stretched to the extreme, it still held on to a fragrant goose leg in its claws. Far air. The rising sun is warm and warm, reflecting half of the sky dyed orange-red. The gentle breeze blows, and the goose feathers on the ground dance in the air, like snowflakes, creating a unique sense of leisure and relaxation. Pooh, pooh, pooh. It spat out the goose feathers from the entrance, turned its head, and looked admiringly at its new owner on the side. Thinking of her earth-shattering cooking skills, I couldn't help but excitedly take a bite of the big goose leg and suddenly feel like the happiest beast in the world. Qiao Sui poured a bowl of soup and drank it in small sips. This pot of old goose soup has been boiled for several hours and has turned milky white. The hot and fragrant taste stimulates the taste buds, so fragrant that it can swallow the tongue. Suddenly, those beautiful eyes squint with happiness. When Song of Mountains and Seas became popular throughout the country, everyone was praising the poignant love between the male and female protagonists, except for her, who was drooling over the natural and pollution-free spiritual beasts in the cultivation world. Especially in order to depict the beautiful scenery of Tsanyue's sect, the author always showcases the group of red-billed immortal geese carefully kept by their disciples. Tonight, upon seeing them, they are truly well-proportioned, fat and slim, exceptionally delicious. This journey is simply a windfall. Qiao Sui thought to himself. If you wear it on a villain with extremely poor talent, don't expect to counterattack any major female lead. Instead of going through life and death, it's better to take advantage of the rich species in the cultivation world and open up a path of delicious food. She had already had over 100 flavors of delicious food in her mind, steaming, boiling, grilling, frying. Just as she was lost in thought, she suddenly felt something pecking at her back. Qiao Sui looked back. Oh. Good guy. A large white goose, standing at the height of an adult, carried light on its back, its wings spread out, and its two mung bean eyes burst with red light. It lifted its chest and neck like a bullfight, and quickly pecked forward with all its might. Qiao Sui rolled sideways and narrowly avoided it. With a loud bang, dust was flying and a deep pit was instantly pecked out on the ground. Qiao Sui and Little Tiger were both stunned. "This big guy is the Goose King, right?" Qiao Sui exclaimed with a smack of his mouth. The bewildered Little Tiger nodded. It has played every inch of the Qiao sect and never noticed the existence of the Goose King, let alone a Goose King who is comparable to a strong Yuaning-level warrior. Scared, it quickly swallowed the remaining half of the goose leg in one gulp. This suddenly stirred up a hornet's nest, and the Goose King angrily raised his voice to the sky. In an instant, the earth shook and a group of half-human tall white geese suddenly emerged from not far away, with a fierce and murderous attitude. Qiao Sui. Little Tiger. Where did these ferocious mutated geese jump out from? Hey! Qiao Sui remained silent for 2 seconds and instinctively took a few steps back, patting the back of the tiger in front of him and cheering, "You can do it, you're the best." The confident little tiger immediately stood forward, releasing the pressure of a high-level divine beast and carrying it with a majestic aura. The world of monsters worships bloodline suppression, and this momentum carries thunderous anger, like black clouds pressing down on the city. The intimidated flock of geese froze for a moment. Sleeping trough. Qiao Sui gave a thumbs up in admiration. The little tiger proudly raised its chest. With a muffled sound of dong, the head was suddenly pecked down. The little tiger looked up in shock and happened to see the Goose King holding a mouthful of tiger hair. The little tiger froze. The little tiger is uncertain and uncertain. The little tiger tearfully felt the hair on its head brushing in the breeze, and there was a particularly large area that was particularly cool. An absurd and unbelievable guess suddenly appeared in my heart, it bawled. What was even more frightening was that the flock of geese moved again, their 2 paws stepping on the wind and fire wheels, and in the blink of an eye, they were already in front of them. The little tiger turned its head and was taken aback. It was empty next to it, and then fixed its gaze on the distance. "Master, damn it, the master has already run away. Master, wait for me!" the little tiger screamed in fear while unleashing its claws and running wildly. The flock of geese chased relentlessly. In a panic, 1 person and 1 beast ran more and more off course. Suddenly, a chaotic forest of rocks appeared in front of my line of sight, towering into the clouds and continuous, resembling a towering mountain from afar. But strangely, there is an empty piece in the middle of the entire high mountain, and the gaps in the stones combine to create an empty shape that corresponds perfectly to the yin-yang tai chi bagua formation. And the stones are engraved with mysterious marks, full of patterns, one after another, combined like some kind of totem. Qiao Sui's heart rang with a thud, and he was constantly alert. This formation, this shape, looks familiar but can't remember where I've seen it before. But intuition tells her, run away. Qiao Sui's toes turned slightly, just about to turn around. Unexpectedly, the Goose King behind him fell into a frenzy, as if taking some miraculous medicine. His cultivation level rose rapidly, and he instantly crossed the great perfection realm outside his body, completely overwhelming Qiao Sui. A terrifying pressure permeated the surroundings, and the power of high-level ferocious beasts stirred the heavens and earth with fierce winds, causing the wind and clouds to change color. Feathers scattered on the ground suddenly rose into the air, arranged in rows and falling heavily on them. This strange movement instantly alarmed the entire Qiao sect. The disciples looked southeast in shock and concern, with streams of light flashing above their heads, almost startling all the elders. "Hold on to me." In an instant, the little tiger's body skyrocketed several times, biting on Qiao Sui's collar and throwing it back. It leaped out several feet and jumped into the rocky forest. The light instantly dimmed. Qiao Sui couldn't help but turn back and take a glance. The goose feathers that looked like feather arrows all had no roots in the stone wall, and even rushed into the Tai Chi Bagua formation. She widened her eyes slightly. As expected, there were unexpected changes. With a loud roar, the stones trembled violently, moving and changing their positions. Along with it, the huge Tai Chi Bagua array above the head began to rotate. The little tiger was forced to stop, its paws arched, its body straightened, and it let out a low growl. The vertical fur on its neck indicated a fear of unknown forces. Even listening to something that scared the divine beast made Qiao Sui's heart skip a beat, desperately recalling the various spells and sword moves that the original owner had learned. She has never been so frightened, worked so hard, or had her brain run so fast with overload, and the back of her hand holding the sword hilt was even more tense and bulging. Then, she suddenly thought of a serious question. How can one captivate the whole world with astonishing charm during their first fight? The little tiger, feeling the owner's thoughts, stumbled and almost knelt. It's really suspect what's wrong with the owner's mind. At this moment, a thick white mist rose up all around, and the space began to twist. In a whirlwind, Qiao Sui didn't have time to exclaim in surprise and his body quickly sank. At almost the same moment, she keenly sensed a sharp cold light coming towards her. Instinctively, she drew her sword and slashed forward. Roar! The mournful screams were deafening. The blue long sword was as fast as lightning, wrapped in terrifying power, and drove straight in, easily cutting the fierce beast in half, which was as huge as a two-story house. Qiao Sui half knelt on the ground, looked up, his snowy cheeks stained with red plums, handsome and breathtaking. Everyone is crazy about it. Besides, Qiao Sui. Upon hearing this, Qiao Sui glanced sideways. In the crowd, the wealthy young master dressed in a red cloud-patterned golden border fox fur was extremely beautiful and eye-catching. That eyebrow, that eye, that nose bridge, thank you, Yun. She died young. Cheap husband didn't die. Ah bah. The war god who was stabbed to death by her has really come back to life from the dead. Xia Yun. Oh, isn't this a woman who stabbed me to death and ruined my reputation? It's automatically delivered to your door. Qiao Sui. Pills, end of this chapter. Chapter 7. Having a crush on her. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 7. Having a crush on her. The two of them looked at each other, both seeing the shock, disbelief, collapse, and guilt in each other's eyes, moving away in an instant. The atmosphere fell into a dead silence in an instant. Qiao Sui trembled and said, "What are you afraid of?" Not just being stabbed to death, taking out the courage to have appendicitis done back then, closing your eyes, maybe rolling back to modern times. Xia Yun exclaimed in agony. It's over. He has been working hard for 100 years, and the image of the jailing flower is about to disappear. From now on, people all over the world know that Xia Yun has regenerated a useless little white face. Both sides agreed without speaking first and continued to observe. After a long time, when everyone finally regained their senses from Qiao Sui tearing apart the sky and performing a brilliant swordsmanship, someone finally realized something was wrong. "Cousin, do you know this fairy?" Zhao Chongkong patted his cousin's shoulder, looking puzzled. "Cousin." Qiao Sui looked surprised. Xia Yinshin exclaimed, "Not good." He looked at Qiao Sui cautiously, nodded with a constipated expression on his face, and then shook his head suddenly. "I don't know." He denied sharply. As the beautiful young master shook his head, his cloud-patterned golden hair twitched slightly, emitting a crisp sound of silver bells jingling. His figure couldn't help but stiffen, his toes awkwardly digging out a mountain. It is normal for a young boy who has been pampered and grown up in a wealthy nest to wear a hair crown with embedded treasures. What's abnormal is that someone has set a small bell in their hair crown. But what did cheap cousin say at the time? "Cousin, aren't you the one who loves to show off the most? Aren't you? Butler, call the doctor quickly, my cousin is sick again. Regenerating waste is not scary." However, regenerating a small white face with serious cognitive impairment towards male aesthetics is more difficult than death. No way. He would rather die than pretend not to know Qiao Sui. Unfortunately, but I just heard you call her. Zhao Changkong paused, dismantling the stage quite skillfully. Qiao Sui. Xia Yun. Your memory is so good. Qiao Sui. Qiao Sui. Zhao Changkong slapped his palm. Isn't she the female protagonist in the book, God of War Little Wife? Cousin, you imagine yourself as the God of War day and night. Can you still secretly love someone else's wife? He suddenly showed a look of condemnation and disapproval, thinking that his cousin was just mentally ill, but he didn't expect that his character might also be a bit problematic. Xia Yun exploded instantly and said, "Wait a minute, cousin. What are you talking nonsense about?" Zhao Changkong patted his arm, showing an expression of, "I understand, let me handle the aftermath." Seeing this, Xia Yun couldn't put his heart at ease, and his heart was directly in his throat. Zhao Changkong quickly stepped forward, took a few steps to stand still, and then turned to Qiao Sui, saying, "Qiao Xianzi, my cousin is only in love with you. I hope you can spare his life while he's not thinking well." Qiao Sui. Xia Yun. As soon as this statement was made, everyone present was shocked. What? Is she Qiao Sui? The widow of the god of war, who bears heavy burdens for love, is strong, brave, true, kind, and beautiful. No wonder she can easily chop off a three-headed double-eyed snake that is comparable to a strong Yuaning with just one blow. This is the strength of the top sect. I don't have it. Seeing the fact that there was a trend of not being able to catch up on 8 horses, Xia Yun rushed out, his movements agile as the wind, and he anxiously explained, "I swear, I thank Zhao Hengji, I have no desire for Qiao Sui, otherwise it will be struck by lightning." Bang! I don't know if there was a lightning strike, but Xia Yun was forcefully thrown into a deep pit by a newborn tiger from the sky. The surrounding area was bustling with dust, and a hand trembled in the pit. That hand represented Xia Yun's indomitable will like steel, and he bravely grasped the edge of the pit. He stood up trembling in the breeze, his thin figure suddenly becoming incredibly tall. I didn't. Speaking slowly and quickly, a tiger's hoof leapt into the air and suddenly kicked onto the handsome face, with words stuck in its throat that had not yet entered. Xia Yun's eyes turned black and he fell straight backwards. This is embarrassing, everyone couldn't bear to look straight at it, so they were so angry that they just covered their eyes. Oh. It turns out that the young master of the Zhao family has already suffered from such severe conjecture. End of this chapter. Chapter 8. The True Cause of Xia Yun's Death. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 8. The True Cause of Xia Yun's Death. Master, I have finally found you. The little tiger plunged into its owner's arms with a fierce thrust, causing its eyes to turn red with injustice. Qiao Sui almost caught his breath and was about to push it away when he suddenly saw the bald and round tiger head. He felt guilty and changed to smoothing its back hair. Sure enough, the easy-to-coax little tiger immediately swung its furry tail. It looked around curiously, and finally its gaze fell on Xia Yun and the obvious tiger hoof prints above his handsome face. Kneel down in fear on the spot. Mom, what have I done, Huzi? Help. On the other side, Cangyu's sect. When the disciples arrived at the chaotic stone forest, they first encountered a group of extremely large mutated fairy geese attacking them. After finally subduing them, they found that the chaotic stone forest had disappeared and they had not seen anyone trespassing through the forbidden area. Jiang Wei, the eldest disciple of the sword sect, lowered his head in shame and respectfully reported the incident to the sect leader and elders in a concise manner. The crowd was both surprised and frightened. Surprisingly, since the establishment of the Cangyu's sect, the existence of the Wancher forest has been taboo, causing countless powerful individuals to fall from it. No one knows who built the random stone forest and what its purpose is. But what scares everyone even more than the chaotic forest being activated is that it disappeared out of thin air. It's not a single stone, but thousands of huge stones soaring into the sky, disappearing collectively. As for the group of obviously mutated immortal geese, even the elders have seen them widely and for the first time in their lives. Jun Bugue gazed at the empty space ahead, as if recalling something, and a hint of trembling floated in his heart. However, his figure remained upright and his expression remained calm. Speaking of which, the old leader also unfortunately died here after encountering the hands of the demon clan. After lamenting, the elder worried Zhongzhong, will it also be the hand of the demon clan? After all, the second wave of demons is coming. Can't it? Another person immediately retorted, chaotic forest has never detected any demonic energy for thousands of years. If the demon clan really has such a supernatural ability, why wait until now to unleash it? Because we have lost the god of war. Upon hearing these words, the group fell silent. The big guys fell silent, their mouths full of bitterness, while at the same time, a wave of regret suddenly welled up in their hearts. Although the first wave of magic caused the cultivation world to lose more than half of its strength, as long as we unite, we may not be able to preserve our home. But the fall of the god of war is the true, thorough, and devastating blow. Almost everyone has lost hope and faith. Now that they are decadent and weak, how can they resist the second wave of magic? Jun Bugue looked coldly at the expressions of sadness or despair from the crowd, feeling glaring. He curled up his fingers very slowly. What's the use of regret now? What is the true cause of Xie Yun's death? Don't these people have a point in their hearts? Master, we found a pot and some goose bones in Hefeng. A disciple carried a large black pot with a hole and walked forward with great enthusiasm. Everyone. At this point, the big guy still didn't understand the secret that caused the goose uprising. It was because someone greedily ate the auspicious beast of the sect, which led to the revenge of the mutated Goose King. Who is so bold? The discipline hall elder was so angry that his beard was crooked. By a stroke of fate, Hua Xiaoxiao swung out 2 breath-seeking talismans. As expected, she soon discovered that the person was, it's Qiao Sui. Everyone's faces lit up with excitement upon hearing the words. At this moment, 2 uneasy voices came one after another. No, Uncle Qiao is missing. Report to the leader, Wan Renshan has discovered the traces of the demon clan. End of this chapter. Chapter 9. Brushing Favorite Feelings. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 9 Brushing Favorite Feelings. The missing Qiao Sui was respectfully welcomed into Qinghe City by a group of people. With just half a day of effort, more rumors of adding fuel and vinegar have also spread. For example, why did Zhao Yanji imagine himself to be the god of war? Because he shamelessly secretly fell in love with someone else's petite wife, or Zhao Yanji found out that Qiao Xianzi was deliberately harassing a ferocious beast at Wanren Peak, causing him to become angry, and thus attracting the goddess to save the beauty. It can be said that he had a very cunning plan. As for various vivid details such as confessing to the goddess and fainting due to being rejected and unbearable by the goddess, they were all confirmed when Zhao Yanji was unconsciously carried onto a stretcher by others into the city. So when Qiao Sui and his group arrived at the city gate, a large group of people stood at the entrance, Wu Yangyang. Zhao Changkong's eyes were filled with tears as he dismounted from his horse and clasped his fists, saying, "Fortunately, we have not lived up to our fate. We have successfully killed that rebellious beast. As the lord of the city, this is my duty, and I understand your intentions. There is really no need to brave the cold wind to welcome me here." Before I finished speaking, I only listened to the sound of clattering. With a loud noise, everyone suddenly gathered around the carriage, eagerly putting things on the frame and stretching their necks to look inside, all hoping for the appearance of a war god's petite wife. The shopkeeper of the Rouge shop, Lu Qing, is here to pay a visit to Madame Xie. Madame Xie, this is the famous specialty of Qinghe City, osmanthus cake. Please try it. Dong Lin and offers a lifetime VIP room card and a one-stop hot spring beauty and maintenance service. We sincerely invite Mrs. Xie to visit. I heard that Mrs. Xie missed the god of war and almost cried blind. Our shopkeeper specially bought some eye protectors. Madame Xie. Madame Xie. In the carriage, Qiao Sui was frightened by the enthusiasm of the people in Qinghe City, and he gained a deeper understanding of Xie Yun's vast mass base. She smashed her mouth and her mood was quite complicated, excited, and uneasy. As long as she is willing, relying on her husband's reputation for cheap consumption, she will never do it in her lifetime. Worry. Eat. Wear it. More importantly, with the support of the people all over the world, it will not be so easy for the protagonist group led by Hua Xiaoxiao to get rid of her. This wave of favorability must be brushed. You still need to shine. Everyone. Qiao Sui rubbed his red eyes fiercely and brushed the curtain of the car, saying with righteousness, "My husband is dedicated to helping the world and the people, and never seeks anything in return. Thank you for your kindness. I understand my feelings, let's take everything back." The noisy sounds around suddenly fell silent. In an instant, it's like a spring breeze blowing by, 100 flowers blooming in full bloom, a peony with stunning colors, as if all the brilliance is gathered together, dazzling beyond measure. Everyone was so stunned that they almost forgot to breathe. Their hearts and eyes were filled with the stunning fairy in red, facing the cold wind. The butterflies on their skirts flapped their wings as if soaring in the wind at any moment. Her eyes were tinged with residual red, but she held her head high, her tone like a murmur, full of pride. "Husband, this is the prosperous mountain and river that you have guarded with all your might. The world is stable, and the people are happy to work, but you can never see it again." The people were filled with tears. The monk in the crowd was filled with tears. Xie Yun, who woke up on the stretcher in time, also burst into tears. He didn't feel dizzy and his waist didn't ache anymore. He sat up straight, shaking his collar, and was about to receive praise from all directions. The weeping fairy Qiao is even more beautiful and stunned. Xie Yun. The stiff god of war choked his throat with a mouthful of old blood. After a moment, he pretended to shake the hem of his sleeve as if nothing had happened, then placed himself in a peaceful position, flipped back, and straightened his body. "This damn life, love anyone. Xie Sui Yun. Why don't you praise me? It was me who put in the effort, End of this chapter. Chapter 10. Crisis. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 10. Crisis. Qinghe town is located in the northwest, with the most unpredictable weather. Although the sky was still clear, in an instant, a vast expanse of yellow sand wrapped in strong winds spread along the horizon. Although it was already summer, when the Yin wind carrying gravel approached, a layer of goosebumps still couldn't stop rising on Qiao Sui's arm. The grief emotion that was brewing was thus interrupted. Oh no! It's a sandstorm. Zhao Changkong frowned and quickly released a strong aura of the golden elixir to disperse the crowd surrounding the carriage, while commanding the guards, hurry back to the mansion. The originally noisy atmosphere only became very solemn, and everyone looked at the rolling yellow sand with a panicked expression while quickly dispersing around. The coachman pulled the reins, and the swift beast scattered its feet and ran wildly towards the direction of Zhao Mansion. As soon as I entered the mansion, the entire sky had already darkened. The little tiger Fenghuan rushed out of the carriage first, her white body agile and jumping up the roof along the eaves. Her wet nose sniffed around, and finally, she watched the sky with caution. Zhao Changkong was startled by the situation and stepped forward to advise, "Fairy Qiao, this sandstorm is extraordinary and very eerie. You should call the spirit beast back." "How do you say that?" Qiao Sui blinked, his eyelids hurt by the gravel, and looked up at the sky, but couldn't tell anything. But seeing Zhao Chankong's face as if facing a great enemy, his heart was filled with curiosity. Zhao Chankong said sternly, "Because this sand is alive, it can be bloodthirsty and swallow bones. Even the cultivation of the golden elixir is difficult to resist." "Live! Live!" Two voices exclaimed in surprise at the same time. Xie Yun has been reborn in Qinghe City for 2 days, and it is also the first time he has encountered a sandstorm. He flexibly flipped over and jumped off the stretcher, taking a small step forward. "What's so strange about this yellow sand?" The red fox fur rippled in an arc in the air, tightly enveloping the noble young master, like a flower of human wealth. Qiao Sui. This motherly cannon is definitely not the god of war. Who? She breathed a complete sigh of relief. "Cousin." Xie Yun urged urgently. Zhao Chankong's eyebrows twitched slightly, and he felt extremely annoyed when he saw his intellectually disabled cousin's expression on his face, which was, "So novel, I'm so interested, I want to do something." The last time my cousin showed this expression was today, when I heard that there were ferocious beasts lurking in Qianren Peak, and I brought more than 10 guards out of the city with me, saying, "Subdue demons and eliminate demons." Unfortunately, I encountered a 3-headed double-eyed snake. If I hadn't been lucky enough to meet Qiao Sui, could I have escaped safely, or was it the same thing? Thinking of these, Zhao Chankong was almost furious. Due to Qiao Sui waiting for his answer on the side, he had to take a deep breath and patiently say, "There is a kind of yellow-brown bug mixed in the yellow sand. Its saliva corrodes flesh and blood, and its sharp teeth can pierce bones. They usually appear in groups and are not invaded by water or fire. Even if we read ancient books, we have no way of knowing what this is." Qiao Sui trembled at the words and quickly developed a layer of goosebumps all over his body. "Look at this formation, aren't there millions of insects hovering above our heads?" "It sounds like corpse sand," Xie Yunrua pondered. According to the record of 10,000 beasts in the mountains and seas, there is a vicious insect in the ancient desert of the West, with 8 brown legs that grows in the pile of bones and never dies or dies. Zhao Chankong's eyebrows lit up with joy, and he said, "Does the book record any ways to deal with it?" Xie Yun shook his head. However, he rolled up his sleeves and looked at the sky, with a mocking smile at the corner of his mouth. "Oh, a group of ants is useless. There must be a way to crack some of them for experimentation." A string of thunder rang out in the distant sky at the right moment, and Qiao Sui shrank his neck. Suddenly, he felt Zhao Hengji's whole body filled with an indescribable aura of Wangba. Looking for 5-star reviews, recommended tickets, and collectibles. Xie Yun. Although she has the appearance of a female cannon, she still has a fierce heart. Zhao Chankong. "Doctor, my cousin has fallen ill again." End of this chapter.